Yes, thank you very much, Buwa, for the introduction and your warm welcome. And hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this presentation. In this presentation, I am reporting the selected findings of a larger project that I have done at Charles Sturt University about serious leisure. I have been researching serious leisure during the last few years, since 2017 when I joined CSU, and I have completed a project about that, and this presentation is part of that project, but this is my research program and I'm just doing some follow-up research about that for different groups of people who are involved in serious leisure. In this presentation, I'll focus on the aspect of lifelong learning in serious leisure and information seeking in that context. So let's begin with a quote from someone called Roy Bennett, who is the author of a book called The Light in the Heart. And in this quote, he just focused on some deeper levels of things. For example, rather than just learning, experiencing, rather than just reading, absorbing, don't just change, transform, don't just relate, advocate, don't just promise, prove, and don't just think, ponder, and the rest that you can read. And the reason that I have selected this quote, because in the context of serious leisure, I can see all these aspects. So before any further delay, let me talk about what is serious leisure and why this is the context of my research. Basically, serious leisure is what people do in their leisure time seriously. So a wide range of hobbies, amateurism, and volunteer activities that require long-time commitment and some kinds of skills and knowledge. So that's the difference between casual leisure and serious leisure. In casual leisure, like watching TV or walking in a park, you don't need a specific skill, you don't need commitment. You can do it at any time you wish, you can stop it at any time you wish. But in serious leisure, you need to spend time on something and learn something, basically. So for example, for a bird watcher or bonsai grower or coin collector or different kinds of sports or photography, all sorts of things, you need to be passionate about it, you need to learn something about it, and you need to allocate time for that. And this is a term that coined by Robert Stevens in 1982, and since then he has been active in writing about this, which is at the moment a conceptual framework to understand what's happening in hobbies and volunteer activities. And also at the same time, serious leisure has 6 qualities that for each hobby you can see maybe all of them, some of them in different scales. For example, first of all, it requires commitment and dedication. As I said, it has a potentiality to turn into a career. So for example, bonsai growers, people that I am doing research about them at the moment in another project. So they can do it as a hobby, but it can be their job. So they can turn it into a career. And also it requires significant personal effort. So basically, serious leisure requires effort, and so it should be adequately challenging and sufficiently rewarding. And it brings durable personal and social benefits. One of the papers that I published based on this project, it published in Journal of Documentation recently. In that paper, I explained how serious leisure can work as a source of social connectedness, social inclusion, and self-actualization. So it has so many positive benefits. The research in this area prove that, and there are empirical evidence for that, and I have empirical evidence in my project that I explain in next few minutes. And also in serious leisure, they need unique ethos with the social world. So, for example, people in bonsai growing that I am researching about them at the moment. It's a combination of art, horticultural skills, philosophy. So they use it as a source of meditation. They use it as a source of, meaning for their life, purpose, source of purpose. So basically, they experience pleasure, they have passion, and they look for purpose in that. And at the end, serious leisure can be a source of personal and social identity. So we know some people by their hobbies. It forms their personality. So that's a brief overview about serious leisure. So this is a list of examples of leisure activities like bird watching, ultra running, genealogy, gourmet cooking. For example, Gina Hartel has done her PhD about information behavior in gourmet cooking. So the point is, serious leisure is a multidisciplinary topic. People in different disciplines look at it from different perspectives. For example, in sociology, they look at it as a form of social activity. In psychology, they look at it as a method of enhancing emotional well-being. And in our field, actually, we look at it from informational perspective. So basically, researchers in information discipline, they look at how people seek information in serious leisure, how they use it, how they share it, and how they produce information. Because it's in terms of information activities, all forms of serious leisure is very rich. So again, as an example, in bonsai growing, they have all sorts of tools, techniques, the history of bonsai. It's very rich in information activity. Basically, regarding what I'm talking about today, all these activities are embedded in an ongoing lifelong learning. So my research shows that learning is always part of serious leisure. So, and I'll provide some examples later on. So in this project, I used a kind of interpretive paradigm and a qualitative approach. I used interview with a semi-structured interview with open-ended question, and I interviewed 20 people in Wagga Wagga, where I live and work here in New South Wales, and I used maximum variation sampling method to have people from different kinds of leisure activities. So in my sample, I had people from different kinds of hobbies: knitting, gardening, many things that I give you a list later on. And then at the end, I use the thematic analysis to identify the themes and concepts in the data that I collected. So the population that I did the research about, they have been involved in various hobbies, as I said earlier. So like poetry, pottering, friends of arts, volunteering in local radios. So basically, these 20 people have been involved in something like 14 to 15 kinds of activities, and some of them had different kinds of hobbies, not only one. So for example, cycling and gardening at the same time. So they were basically and typically passionate learners, and they have been learning about what they have been doing for a long term. And interestingly enough, their passion grew during that time. So the more experienced they are, the more passionate they are. So it's amazing how involving in these activities keep them passionate, so they don't lose interest. So the more they know, the more they become interested. And then their information behavior is typically very purposeful. They know what they are looking for. Of course, sometimes they come across things by serendipity, and information encountering exists in this context. But my research shows that they usually know what they are looking for because they have already been involved in something very specific. So for example, a bird watcher knows what kind of bird he or she is looking for, where they live. So they are very specific about what they are doing. And they are not looking just for information, they are looking for meaning. So they use information to construct meaning in a social environment, and they keep sharing. And one of the most interesting result of my research was the most enjoyable activity, information activity, was information sharing, not because of the significance of the information they share, because of the nature of sharing. So they keep sharing information with each other in different kinds of platforms, in social media, in Facebook, in YouTube, in all forms of platforms, as you can see. Just for example, search in Facebook for bird watchers. They have a huge number of groups. And then talking about learning, I present a number of quotes from my interviews specifically about learning and how they actually look at this context as a source of learning. So one of them, for example, said, the best advice is pick something you like and get involved with it. And you don't hang around. So if you are going to go to the family history group, for example, then get involved with administration of it and learn as much as you can. So there is no limit of learning. They keep learning. But the other one said, but I think that was because the group encourages people so much to give back and to learn. It's very much about you can come walk with us. If you have never bushwalked before, we will help you learn how to do it, but we will expect you to put the effort in. So, for example, bushwalking is one of the serious leisure activities, and the participant here is highlighting the fact that we are happy to share, but you should have the willingness and commitment to learn. So, and the concept of mentoring is very significant in serious leisure. They actually share information through mentoring scheme. And more evidence, for example, someone said, I just read the red part because it's specifically about learning. If you can't do them, you can't ask others. So they learn by doing. Learning by doing is very visible in my data. So although they, for example, search for information, they read a lot, but basically they learn by doing things. Specifically in different kinds of outdoor hobbies, and when they are performing something, because in serious leisure we have different groups of people. Some of them, they are just observing. So for example, bird watchers observe. Some of them collecting something. People collect more than 160 kinds of things. People collect everything you can imagine, you know, pencils, pen, book, everything. Some of them are making something, for example, knitting. Some of them are performing, so for example, dancing or running. So as my time is coming to an end, I just give more evidence that this presentation is available. You can have a look at the data later on. So it's a kind of lifelong attitude in a philosophy embedded into serious leisure, and because they enjoy autonomy and authenticity in their activity, they are authentic learners. So they don't do it to gain any extra advantage. They don't need any degree or qualification. They learn things because they enjoy learning. So the concept of joy here is very important. The joy of learning in serious leisure is full of joy. It's joyful learning, basically. Right. So, and the conclusion, the result shows that serious leisure participants are involved in a long-term learning journey, and they have a high level of dedication and enthusiasm. They usually learn through informal settings such as joining clubs, exploring social media, attending gatherings, and moreover, most of them are passionate readers and friends of libraries. So they are fans of libraries, they use library heavily, and this paper concludes serious leisure participants are typically serious learners, and they seek information and look for new meaning of life. And that's a list of references. You can have a look later on if you would like. And that's the end of it with another quote: anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. Henry Ford said so. And this is a picture from around in Wagga, Marambiji, a wetland in Wagga Wagga that I took last year. And thank you for your attention. And I'm here answering your question. Thank you.